You're at a party, surrounded by dozens of people, and your brain couldn't care less about any of them. Then one person walks in and something shifts. You don't decide it. You don't weigh the pros and cons. You just notice them over and over again. Out of everyone you've ever met, your brain picked this person and locked on. What nobody knew at the time was that the decision had already been made before you were even aware of it. And once it picks, it doesn't let go. You replay your last conversation in your head, mining it for meaning like every word was a clue. You catch yourself checking their social media, not because anything has changed, but because looking at their face feels like scratching an itch. You start engineering reasons to be near them, taking a longer route to class, showing up early to the same coffee shop. You tell yourself it's a coincidence. It's not. And the wildest part is, if someone asked you why this person, you couldn't really explain it. You'd list surface things, their laugh, the way they tilt their head. But deep down, you know the pool started before you noticed any of that. But this story doesn't start with the crush itself. It starts with a process your brain ran in a tenth of a second. Psychologists Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov at Princeton showed that your brain forms a stable impression of someone's attractiveness in just 100 milliseconds. That's faster than a blink. And when they gave subjects more time, half a second, a full second, the judgments barely changed. The extra time just made people more confident in what they'd already decided. So the first filter is instant, but that snap judgment is just the audition. The real show is what happens after your brain picks a frontrunner. Helen Fisher, Arthur Aaron, and Lucy Brown ran fMRI scans on 17 people who were intensely in love. When those subjects saw a photo of their person, a tiny region deep in the brain's core called the VTA flooded with activity. The VTA is the brain's reward headquarters. It's the same ancient circuitry that drives you to eat when you're starving and drink when you're parched. Fisher's team found that your brain doesn't file a crush under feelings. It files it under survival priorities. It narrows your focus the way hunger narrows your focus to food. One target, all resources directed there. That narrowing of focus explains the motivation, but it doesn't explain why a crush feels like you're losing your mind. For that, you need to look at what's missing, not what's flooding in. Donatella Marazziti at the University of Pisa compared blood samples from 3 groups of 20 people: patients with diagnosed OCD, people who had recently fallen in love, and healthy controls. She measured the density of serotonin transporters, which is a reliable window into how much serotonin your brain is actually using. The people in love had serotonin transporter levels that matched the OCD patients almost perfectly. Both groups sat significantly below the healthy controls. That serotonin dip is exactly why you can't stop thinking about your crush. Your brain is chemically running the same loop that drives someone to check a locked door 15 times. And it gets stranger. Your brain isn't just choosing based on what you see. Klaus Wedekind's sweaty t-shirt experiments showed that people consistently preferred the scent of someone whose immune system genes were highly different from their own, and they did this without any conscious awareness. Your nose is screening for genetic compatibility while you think you're just deciding whether someone smells nice. So your brain is running a lightning-fast audition, flooding you with reward chemicals, depleting your serotonin, and even sniffing out genetic matches. That sounds like a precise system, but it's shockingly easy to hack. In 1974, psychologists Donald Dutton and Arthur Aaron stationed an attractive woman on 2 different bridges in Vancouver. One was a terrifying, swaying suspension bridge over a canyon. The other was a solid, boring bridge close to the ground. She asked men crossing each bridge to fill out a short survey, then offered her phone number. 50% of the men from the Fear Bridge called her. From the Stable Bridge, just 12.5%. The men on the Fear Bridge weren't braver or more attracted. Their hearts were already pounding from fear, and their brains misread that adrenaline as chemistry. They didn't fall for her, they fell for a bridge. And this stacks with something Stanford psychiatrist Anna Lemke describes in her research on dopamine. When someone is unpredictable with you, warm one day and distant the next, your brain can't calculate when the next reward is coming. So when it finally arrives, the dopamine hit is way larger than if they'd just been consistently kind. Your brain doesn't pick the person who's the safest, it often picks the one it can't predict. So that moment at the party, when one person just stood out and you couldn't explain why, your brain had already run a 100-millisecond audition, filtered for immune compatibility through scent you weren't even aware of, flooded your reward system with dopamine to lock your attention on a single target, and then crashed your serotonin so you physically couldn't stop thinking about them. You thought you chose your crush, but the real question isn't why you pick them. It's whether you pick them at all, or whether a network of ancient circuits made the call and let you believe it was your idea. If you want to understand what happens when that crush doesn't fade, when it crosses into something your brain genuinely can't let go of, that's the next video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.